The anti-ICE, that's what the media is calling them, otherwise known as ANTIFA. They are literally insane, the ones protesting at the ICE facility in Portland, Oregon. Per court documents, woman charged in ICE protest chased 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗏, he's a conservative influencer, while wearing a bird outfit. A bird outfit. Let's get into this. Here we go.
This is breaking news.
Law and order will prevail, and President Trump will make sure of it.
We begin with breaking news at 5 tonight. The city of Portland in the federal crosshairs once again.
Wow.
Tonight we've learned that President Trump has authorized even more
Look at this guy. What are we doing? Since when does peaceful protest involve wearing a big costume? Like, it's just kind of making a mockery of everything, isn't it? I mean, it's so ridiculous. And you see multiple of these. I've got footage of the Cookie Monster. I was in Portland this past weekend. The Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster's just, I had friends send me, I thought that was Oscar the Grouch. And I'm like, no, Oscar's green. Cookie Monster is blue. And he's got that big mouth. He eats those cookies, right?
Is looking to cut funding due to a rise in, quote, Antifa-related incidents. His escalation following the overnight arrest of a conservative influencer outside the ICE facility on Portland's South Waterfront. The city is already awaiting the arrival of Oregon National Guard troops to that facility. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
I'm Deborah Knapp. There are a lot of new developments tonight. So here's what we know right now. 27-year-old 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗏 was among 3 people arrested for disorderly conduct after some kind of fight outside the ICE facility. In a news conference today, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said he was defending himself from, quote, left-wing protesters. He's since been released.
Leavitt says the DOJ is now...
And all charges have been dropped. That's another current update.
Investigating Portland police for his arrest. The Multnomah County District Attorney's Office is reviewing the case and will make a decision before his arraignment on Monday. Meanwhile, Oregon National Guard troops are still mobilizing for their deployment to the ICE facility.
There's the mostly peaceful guillotine, right? I mean, who doesn't bring a guillotine to a peaceful protest? Make sense of that. These people are absolutely dangerously insane.
Following ongoing clashes, a legal battle is brewing to try and stop that deployment.
Yeah, Deb, and
So Pam Bondi has sent a request for a bunch of information, and hey, you need to respond by, I think it was the 10th, she said. And I don't know where that's going to go, but it's putting pressure on Oregon. It's putting pressure on Multnomah County. It's putting pressure on Portland Police Bureau because you got Pam Bondi, U.S. Attorney General, breathing down your neck. Right? So we'll see where it goes.
A letter from the Department of Justice that says in order to, quote, address our compliance concerns, the Bureau needs to get necessary items to them by next Friday. Now, take a look at the video here on your screens showing 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗏 being arrested last night in South Portland. Now, the DOJ saying they want to see that body-worn camera video of his arrest, as well as unredacted documents and after
spoke with a man in blue, and he indicated, hey, this activity, this action right here, when Nick did this activity, when he pulled when he pulled the flagpole away from somebody, it wasn't his flagpole that was on fire, put it on the ground, stomped on it, got it, out and picked it back up, and that's not his thing. He can be charged with something like that. And the ultimate goal of Portland Police Bureau at that point is to just basically de-escalate the situation. All right, you got a bunch of whacked out Antifa nut jobs, which we all know are mental. And then you've got 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗏, doing the Lord's work and putting out a flag that's been set on fire, which is legal. You can do that. It's just wildly disrespectful. And so 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗧𝗏 does that, and they arrest him, and then they recognize, okay, somebody said to recognize or to arrest him from on high, somewhere further up the chain of command, which is normal, I'm being told. That is normal to have happen. So problem gets de-escalated, Nick gets hauled off, the other female involved, she gets hauled off, no charges. end up being filed. But there's this whole big thing of, why did Nick get arrested? No, they're trying to get him out of there, get him off the street. Don't allow him just to run around when you've got something going on, whether he did it or not. Their end goal is to de-escalate and, basically take him away like they're doing right here. So they did what they're supposed to do. Now, the optics are that they're only arresting conservatives and they're not arresting the other folks. The argument there that I would say is, look at the Katie Davis court thing. She gets poked in the eye with a flagpole, gets just a shiner. That was a gnarly shiner. And did anybody get arrested for that? Yeah. You know what I mean? You're like, all right, there's all these other actions going on, but it's very one-sided. It's very one-sided. And earlier today, I did podcast on Governor Kotek just basically lying to us about the situation in Oregon, how the feds are trying to, escalate things, and that conservative influencers are coming in and they're starting fights. And I'm like, well, I was there. I didn't see that. And what I'm seeing here is this isn't a brawl. This isn't Tiny fighting, one of the Proud Boys. Remember Tiny? That guy was a brawler. He was a brawler. Unfortunately, he's in prison. It's what happens when you have multiple violations of the law repeatedly over time. So, but yeah, going back to this, Nick Sorter got arrested, charges dropped, and his attorney is asking for an apology from Bob Day and a full investigation into the thing. It's a bunch of he said, she said. All right, we're going to request this. Where does it go? Probably nowhere, but it becomes a news point, and we just talked about it.
Action reviews involving Sorter and another conservative influencer. In the letter, the DOJ says Portland police force is using powers in a manner that may be based on, quote, viewpoint discrimination. When asked about this investigation, Chief Day said this.
Well, I would say that the Department of Justice has been investigating the Portland Police Bureau since 2012. And I would say that the actions and steps that we are taking now in law enforcement, in the enforcement action around protest activity.
This is a police chief Kamala Harris answer. That's what this is. This is some, Bob, you're giving us the 10,000 foot overview of what's going on. We're asking you a specific question. Is the Portland Police Bureau only arresting conservatives and allowing Antifa to just walk free? Well, we don't really get an answer, but we get a little history lesson on the consent decree by the feds, right? That's what we get. All right. Okay, but the takeaway from that is nothing. You didn't say anything.
Is actually designed and supported and created by their partnership with the Department of Justice under this settlement agreement. I would say that in 2020, under the original administration, that we were harshly criticized for the way in which we responded. And so 5 years later, as a learning organization, taking their input and their response, we have changed our response. So I have always been very transparent and welcoming of critique and evaluation of the police bureau. Yes, absolutely.
Now, Chief Day says Sorter was arrested for disorderly conduct and has already been released from jail. And now he's due in court on Monday. In regards to the federal investigation, Sorter did post on Twitter earlier today saying that Portland police will, quote, absolutely hate what's coming. Reporting live in downtown Portland, I'm Shelby Slaughter, K2 News.
All right, Shelby.
Yeah, we'll see, right? And I believe Nick is on with Tommy Lauren. Like today on her show. All right, let's take a look here. Oh, see if we got anything good. So that's the on-ramp going south and southeast there. Yeah, bunch of pepper spray, pretty standard stuff. More details are emerging about protests last week outside the ICE facility that resulted in the arrest of conservative influencer Nick Sorter and two others. According to probable cause documents filed in the case of Angela Davis, police relied in part on information from confidential, reliable sources embedded in the crowd, or CRS. According to one CRS, they witnessed a white man in his 30s walking down the middle of the street on South Moody Avenue, holding a cell phone with a bright light shined in people's faces. So he probably had his flashlight going on his cell phone. Okay. That's not exactly instigating, World War III, but all right, maybe he was shining a light for a different camera. We don't really know. We don't have details on that. What we do know is the CRS said that the man, later identified as Nick Sorter, was attempting to elicit a negative response from people. Okay? And when you are walking down the middle of the street and if you're filming Antifa within their kind of little area where they've got the canopy set up, they got a couple of canopies, all kinds of food, supplies, you name it, water, the very best that George Soros can afford them, right? So we don't really know what the details were there, but Nick Sorter is walking down the street and he's got a light. How many times do you see Antifa flashing lights, flashing lasers in people's eyes? We saw, what was it, a week ago? We saw Brandy Cruz. She's trying to have a conversation. Somebody just starts flashing a laser in her eyes. And she's like, I'm not going to have a conversation with you if you keep doing that. And rightfully so. According to court documents, the Sorter was attempting to film more people. A person dressed in black jumped between Sorter and the group, which caused yelling, pushing, and shoving. At some point, 𝗪𝗍𝗍 was holding an umbrella with the letters ACAB, which stands for All Cops Are Bastards, on it, and was shoving the umbrella in Sorter's face and in front of his camera. That happens all the time because the far left doesn't really believe in freedom of speech. They only believe in freedom of their speech. Anybody else's speech, they are just no go. And filming. Why do they object to filming things if they're so transparent? Well, it's because they know that they're doing illegal activities and they want as little information out there on what they're actually doing. I think the level at which they are trying to prevent people from filming now has dropped considerably because they know that all kinds of people are going to be down there and filming. And a lot of it's just normal people. When I was at the facility here that we're talking about, there were maybe at the end of the night, was there, I don't know, a couple hundred people, 150 people, somewhere in that range. And a lot of them, 3/4 of them, maybe half of them were not really involved on one side or the other. They're just, hey, it's a Friday night. Let's go down to Portland and see what's going on. Let's go eat at the old spaghetti factory, which is just a couple of buildings away. And then we'll walk over. We'll have some drinks and spaghetti and some French bread. Who doesn't like that? Then we'll walk over and see what's going on with the protests. I mean, cheap entertainment, right? Cheap entertainment. So, Sorter then ripped the umbrella out of 𝗪𝗍𝗍's hands and threw it while running across the street with a crowd following. Okay, so you can't do that. I understand. That's not much of a crime. Somebody's poking something in your face and you grab it and you throw it. You are defending yourself. But letter of the law and what the police are trying to do, which is just get rid of this situation before it just explodes into something else. They're going to arrest the people that are in question. And Nick Sorter was caught up in that. So, that's what happens when you poke the bear. And by being poked the bear, that could be something as simple as defending yourself. So it doesn't matter how you get involved with this. These people are mentally ill. They are crazy. And I'm talking about Antifa. Yeah, they're putting an umbrella in your face, right? They're out there in costumes, just playing grab ass. Just, it's the greatest thing ever. What could go wrong? According to court documents, Davis dressed like a bird covered in feathers. When I was there, I saw literally the Cookie Monster. I saw some other yellow costume. It wasn't Big Bird, but, it's almost like there's a bunch of furries running around. That weird sex. Yeah, let's put on costumes and then you know what? I mean... it's just so weird. So she chased Sorter while swinging a large stick covered in feathers. Sorter then fell on the street. Davis, 49, was scheduled to be arraigned Friday in a second-degree disorderly charge. However, because she was released from jail the same day, jail staff tell KATU her arraignment was likely delayed. All right, Sorter and Yee are both scheduled to be arraigned Monday at 2 p.m. on a charge of second-degree or disorderly conduct. Both of them, I think, had their charges dropped. They were also both released from jail on Friday. I want to react to this because I felt this was a pretty interesting piece as well. This is Nick Sorter kind of explaining his side of things. Let's take a run at it.
So where are you from and what has happened over the past couple days?
So from Washington, D.C., here in Portland, which is still the United States of America. It doesn't really seem like it right now, but it is. So I'm out here as an American, trying to document what's happening on the ground out here. I think this has been going on for far too long. I mean, I've spoken to so many residents in this building right here that can't sleep at night because this stuff goes on 20.
So Nick is standing to the west, to the north and west of the federal building, across the street, north and west. This empty lot here with this, it's basically an empty commercial lot. It is across the street from the multi-story, four or 5-story residential building where the young lady with the cane who just came out and absolutely bitched out. It was a black lady. She bitched out Antifa. We can't sleep. So he's standing across the street from that building. He's right in that area.
4/7. I don't know if you've been out here at 3 o'clock in the morning, but they're still yelling and screaming. And, I came here last night and I ended up being harassed in the street here, with megaphones and stuff. I mean, I don't know how you'd be able to carry on your day as somebody that lives in this building over here in particular, but it's something that needs national media attention, and I'm glad it's finally getting it.
Yep.
And so what happened over the past couple of days when you were involved with law enforcement?
So I don't know how many times you've tried walking, over in that area late at night with a camera. They don't like it. They don't particularly like it. They're not.
None. I don't walk there during the daylight. I just, that's where you get the footage. That's a young person's game because they're going to confront you and they're going to say, oh, we don't want this. They don't know who you are. I mean, it's not good. And I'm just not going to do that. I went over to that side of the street and filmed just a little bit when there was a whole bunch of conservatives right there. And you could tell. I'm like, all right, we're safe here for a second. Let's see if I can find an example of what I'm talking about here. We're talking about this area over in here. You shoot over in here, it's not going to go well for you late at night. And here's another example of just the absolute lunacy of these people. Here is Cookie Monster. I mean, there's nothing illegal. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but it just kind of goes to show the level of how things are just, hey, let's go protest ICE and I'm going to be in a Cookie Monster costume. You know what I mean? Just right off the bat, you lose some credibility. Does it de-escalate things? Well, it depends what the Cookie Monster does, right? Just the whole thing is, and what I would say is most of these people are either smoking cigarettes, they're smoking weed, they're smoking vapes, they're doing something. A lot of them rolled in, they've been drinking. A handful of them are on meth, they're on something, doing fetty, smoking whatever. It's just this really toxic environment. And these people are already wildly unhinged to begin with. Because that's why they're there. That's why they're part of Antifa. That's why they are anarchists, because they are mentally unhinged. But let's get back to our interview with Nick there.
They don't take too kindly to cameras, and they're definitely not too kind to people filming them after they've been, say, pepper sprayed or mace or thrown on the ground by ICE or CBP, somebody from DHS, whatever it is. And that seemed to create the problem the other night because they don't like the fact that after they're on the ground and after they'd just been hit by tear gas, they were very much upset by the fact that I was sitting there recording that happening. And that seemed to set them off. I attempted to walk back to my car because my camera battery was dying. My car was parked over at the, I won't say exactly where, but that way down the road at the restaurant. and I tried walking down there. They blocked my path. I gave multiple warnings. So it's all on video. It's all posted on my X as well as Fox News' page and everything like that. They were blocking my path. I kept saying, "Stop! I'm going to walk this way. I'm walking this way. Walking this way." They didn't like that. They ended up swinging at me, punched me in the face, broke my camera, and then threw me in the pit over there, the recessed flower bed. And I ended up, I walked around a little bit more, and then I went back to Portland Police. I went back.
And there were no arrests made for that. No arrests made for that. Got no witnesses. Nobody that's going to come out and say, hey, Antifa did that to 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠. Not going to have that, right? So this whole notion is justice for one side, but not the other side. But then when the other side does something against the ICE complex, oh, yeah, we're violating the freedom of speech. The whole thing is just, it's mental. It is literally mental.
That group over there, thinking, okay, that would be, a safe place to go after that encounter. And they ended up, one of the sergeants came up, pointed and said, "Cuff him." And that's when I was arrested. My assailant was never arrested in that situation. That they're still over there under the in that homeless camp over there.
And what was going through your mind when you were being told, or when you were told that you were being handcuffed?
There were two things that went through my mind. Neither of them being I am actually under arrest. The first one was that they were acting like they were arresting me to get me out of the area, and they were going to drop me down the street. That's what it sounded like was happening at first. Or secondly, it was,
and that's probably, that was their intention. Hey, get him out of there. And then somebody said, no, you got to charge him. We want to get him out of there. So we're going to charge him, and we're going to take him to downtown or wherever it is. Going to take him to the precinct. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Wherever they take people that they arrest on disorderly conduct charges, right?
Mistaken identity. It took me a while to actually accept the fact that they were there for me. The cops had actually arrested me. They had no idea. It took them over an hour to figure out what the charges were. We pulled over on the side of the road near the jail downtown, and they couldn't write on the report what the charges were because they had no idea. So we waited for over an hour. We got a call from the lieutenant. Lieutenant told them to step out of the vehicle so that I couldn't hear what they were talking about. Came back in the car, didn't say anything. Got another call from that lieutenant, got out of the vehicle. They started talking down the street, so I couldn't hear. Came back and said it's going to be, they said DISCON 2, which means disorderly conduct 2. And they wrote that on the charge sheet, but they still at that point didn't know why I was being charged with disorderly conduct. So somebody from higher up demanded the arrest, and they pointed at me and told the cops that were on the street to make that arrest.
And were you read your rights?
No.
We were not read.
I was never Mirandized.
Oh, okay. So, why are you back out here tonight?
Well, I got court now, so I'm not going to leave Portland anytime soon. I gotta go to court. Gotta fight it. There will be no plea deal. It will be we'll fight it to the very end.
Because if he wasn't back out there, he wouldn't be doing this interview, and he wouldn't be on the Tomi Lahren show, right? So there's that. You just got to stick at it. And that's the part of this whole game that I get arrested. I'm going home. I'm going back to my hotel. I'm out of there, right? I'm just, don't need that in my life. But for these guys, this is how they build their brand, and this is what they want to do. And that's too far for me. I'll go down and witness, I'll watch, but I'm going to be across the street. I'm only going to be in the mix of it if I know that we got a 50-50 mix of conservatives to the absolute lunatic Antifas, because I've been one of maybe one or two Antifa in the midst of a big Antifa crowd. And it's scary because these people are absolute lunatics.
Yeah, because it's not, they're not legitimate charges. You come out here every single night and you see what's happening on the street out here, and you're going to say that I am the one that's disorderly? I'm the one that's going to be...
Governor Kotek is literally stating that the ICE building, the feds are escalating the situation. And that number two, the right-wing provocateurs like Nick are the ones that are fighting with Antifa, and they are causing the violence and they are causing the outbreak. That is how much this narrative is being controlled from beyond the actual scenario of physically being there. Because if you're physically there, you're not thinking about, hey, there was a marathon run this weekend in Portland. Things are great. Or, hey, 2 miles away in downtown Portland, everything looks hunky-dory. People are just walking around. They're just having the time of their life. You're not thinking that. You're thinking, I'm in a third world country. There are a bunch of lunatics running around. There is zero law and order because Portland Police Bureau is basically not doing their job. They've been told to stand down. And ICE is having to defend their own building from these absolute lunatics.
Arrested? I mean, what are these people? What do you call this? What do you call blocking the roads? What do you call 3 o'clock in the morning with the megaphones? What do you call setting things on fire? Is none of that disorderly conduct?
Well, no, it's not. It is not. It is not. Because, from the top down, Portland is a failed communist state. It's straight up socialism. It's wild, and it's wild to watch unfold like the way it has. So what else do we got here? Yep. District Attorney Nathan Vasquez will decide Monday before the arraignment whether to proceed with charges against Sorter, according to DA spokesman Pat Dewars. And they did not file charges. Just boop. No go. You've got some real nuances there, especially with Nick's Sorter case. You've got some real nuances there. Do I think it was wildly out of context? Initially, I did because I couldn't really see anything, but I also don't know, and you probably don't know, what is disorderly conduct too? What constitutes that? And if you're a lay person, you have no idea. You're like, I don't know. What does that mean? Till you have somebody, a man in blue, walk you through. All right, what he did right there, they have cause to arrest him. You're like, okay, all right. So this isn't just a pick up the conservatives, pick them off piece by piece. There is some involvement here. And, but again, when the other side rarely gets arrested for all of what Nick just described to us, which is, hey, they're out here violating a noise ordinance way after 10 p.m. with, loudspeaker. That is just a constant thing. They're lighting fires. They're doing just crazy stuff because these people are mentally ill. And that's what they do. That's why they are not working and they're up all night and they don't really get going with their protesting agenda until after dark. And some of that has to do with they don't want to be seen. It's harder to document things when they are wearing all black. Black bloc costumes. Maybe the Cookie Monster. I mean, nobody will know who you are when you're inside of a Cookie Monster costume, will they? No. Oh, what's Cookie Monster doing? But that just kind of goes to show that these folks have issues. I mean, who else is going to go hard on an agenda of anarchy, but people that are tweaked? So there you go. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.